This episode of XIV Reborn is brought to you by GameBreaker.tv/deals. Right now we got a pre-order special on WildStar. If you're interested in the game, go ahead and get yourself 20% off. We've got a ton of games there. We'll check them out later. GameBreaker.tv/deals. This site's going to be the financial death of me. Hello, Internet, and welcome to XIV Reborn, episode number 31 for March 26th, 2014. I'm Mike Byrne, you're watching GameBreaker TV, and on today's show, Live Letter 13 had a ton of news, some good, some maybe not so good. Preliminary patch notes are out and still getting updates. We'll keep you posted on when and a whole lot more. We've got a long show to go through, just like last week. Joining me, you know him, you love him, Mr. Michael Poveromo. Mr. Happy. What is going on? It's been shaved. It's been shaved. The mane is gone. The Hildebrand locks are gone.
But I took with him my essence, so...
I'm not even going to comment on that.
I just need some salamander oil. I'll be okay.
Yeah, just somebody rub his head with salamander oil, and Mr. Happy will give you a ring. That's the way it works. So yeah, we have a lot to cover. I mean, last week's show was like an hour and a half. This one's probably going to run a little over an hour or two, and we started right on time. But you know, it's tough. It's tough having this much news. And then next week, of course, we'll be reviewing a lot of the patch 2.2 content. So I expect that show will probably run over as well. So lots of great shows for the last few weeks for Final Fantasy XIV fans. And if you missed the pre-show, you missed the Titan fight, the 16-bit Titan fight. If you haven't checked that out, freaking fantastic video. But let's get started.
I'm glad they released that right after the live letter too, officially.
It was such a great video. So Live Letter 13 dropped a few days ago on the 21st. Lots of good info, some of which we knew, some, clarified a few things we'd speculated on, and then some things got clarified that maybe aren't the best news, and we'll get to those as we come. One thing I do want to mention here before we get too far in is score one for the players, Mr. Happy. The 1-year veteran rewards are getting changed, right? Nice.
Yes, they are. We're getting all 4 of the 360 and 450 rewards are now all part of the 1 year.
Yep. There's still not one item in there that makes you go, wow, 1-year veteran reward. But, I'll take this as a win. At least Square and Yoshi P and team, they heard the feedback and, all right, this maybe isn't as awesome as we thought it was going to be. Let's do what we can with it, and we'll just put everything into 1 year. So, I'm cool with it.
Gonna need that for my 2.2 storyline. All those Aetherite tickets. There you go.
Yeah, I think it's a nice compromise. I mean, we speculated last week that it was too late to really do anything as far as changing them. But
merging them.
Right, but merging them, that was a really good idea. At least it's a compromise. It maybe doesn't have the wow factor that we were all expecting, but like I said, at least it shows, hey, our players aren't happy. We need to do something, and this is what we can do. So I'm cool with it. 4 veteran rewards for 1 year. Awesome. Nice job. Score 1 for the players. But let's get to the actual content in the live letter. Now, we're going to start off with something that we really don't have a whole lot to talk about besides what we've already mentioned on previous shows, and that's the glamour system.
Yeah.
If you want to design your own look, great. And the rules that we've mentioned before still apply. If your class or job can't equip it, you can't use it in the glamour system. Sorry. You can't project an eye level 90 skin onto an eye level 10 weapon. It's not. I don't know why you would want to, but okay, maybe you just like the look of it. But no, it's not going to work that way. You can't go higher to lower. The head and chest piece thing, you talked about this on your breakdown quite a bit as far as the cowl pieces and even the leg boot pieces being connected.
Yeah, and it's kind of... I'm glad that you can at least one way do it. Like, if you wanted to go from one of them to the other. I don't remember. I think you can go from the cowl to the non-cowl, or is it the other way around? I think that's the way it goes, and then you can't do it the other way, the non-cowl to the cowl.
Weapons and accessories can be changed, which we kind of assumed they would be. The one thing that I was... the one thing that,
earring.
Hey, some of them you can see. The one thing that I was kind of like, I wonder if this is going to stick. They did mention it. You will be able to save your glamour settings as part of your gear set.
Yeah.
Thank God.
I mean, if that didn't happen, all you would be doing is dumping a bunch of money every time you wanted to change.
Yeah.
Change any class.
It would just be another guild sync. So I'm glad that it registers as part of the change. And then, of course, it's really cool to be able to toss the gear off to your retainer, too. You don't have to carry around the gear that you have applied the skin onto your normal gear. You can toss it off to your retainer. So, hey, if this is your thing, it's not really my thing. I really don't care because I happen to like most of the sets. Once you get past, like, eye level 55, eye level 70, you start getting into some decent-looking sets for me. But if this is your thing, I think they did it right.
Listen, I just have one word. Foe strikers. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, God. All right, so then we got the ventures. We speculated on this too, whether it was going to be leveling you or leveling the retainer, and what can you get and everything. And if you want our more in-depth analysis of what the venture system is, go watch last week's episode. We broke it down. But to clear up a few things that we did talk about, there are going to be items that you can only get through venture. I like that.
Yeah. Yes,
this was a good decision.
I guarantee you they're just minions, but they're still going to be only through ventures.
Doesn't matter to me. So you're going to...
No, it doesn't matter to you because you want there to be more minions.
Right. Yeah, just throw minions in there and gate it, and whatever you want me to grind, I'm going to do it for the damn minions. Now, retainers, we thought this was going to be the other way around. And you weren't going to be able to do this. But you can. Retainers will be able to go out on an adventure and be entrusted or withdrawing items and or selling items on the marketplace. I really didn't see this coming.
You know what that reminds that's like the single mother with 4 kids at the grocery market trying to ring everything up and still keep check of all her kids. It's just like, oh no, I got it. Mental breakdown. Okay. You're gonna give your retainer some major headaches.
Well, I kind of had a moment where I was like, this doesn't make sense. I mean, your retainer being in 2 different places at once. But then when you read Reinhardt's translation and some other translations that you see out there, Yoshi P is doing it for the whole convenience factor. You know, it would be very inconvenient to have to cancel a venture, lose your venture chips, which you have to farm through dailies or trading seals to actually send your retainers out to do these ventures, just so you could put something on the marketplace. So it kind of makes sense to me, even though logic-wise it really doesn't.
Yeah, he even said himself, logically it doesn't make any sense, but we're just going to do it. Like, that's just how we're going to do it. And I kind of like that a little bit. It's a fantasy game. Not everything has to be logical. You know?
So what's the flow here? So how does this actually work? Where do you start?
You start by getting some venture chips, which you're going to have. You can use Grand Company seals, or you can get them from treasure hunts, or you get them from Beastman dailies, I think. I think those were the 3 ways they've so far said you can get venture chips from. Once you have venture chips, then you can you can pick a class for your retainer. They can't craft. They can either gather or they can battle. So you pick whatever class you want them to do. If you want them to gather, make them mining or fishing. If you want them to battle, pugilist, conjure, whatever you want. And then you give them a venture chip, and you tell them, I want this item from this level range. It'll tell you how much EXP you'll get, how much of the item you'll get, what item you'll get, how long it'll take, and you send them off. And for the most case, 1 hour, they'll be back. There are a few different kinds of ventures, and those are the ones that you can get the rare items from. There's random adventures, which they'll just come back with a random item, and I think it costs 2 venture chips instead of 1. It's also not worth as much EXP, and you probably won't get as many items from it either. And then there's ones that take 18 hours to do, but they come back with far greater rewards. Those also cost 2 venture chips. And those are where you're really going to see... I think they even put a little red letters under the patch notes. This is where you will see the rarest items is coming from this one. And that makes sense, considering it's an 18-hour venture.
Now, you will be leveling up the retainer itself by doing this, too. But those of you that have everything on your character at 50 already and you were looking forward to level everything on your retainer to 50, not going to happen. there's a reset mechanic, right? So if you're out there in one class or job and you want to switch the retainer to a different one to go out and do some different ventures, you lose all the levels that you had gained on that particular job. So your retainer's really only going to be doing one thing at a time, and then when you've exhausted it, you'll move on to the next job or class. This is going to be a pain in the ass for me with more than one minion tied behind more than one job. This is going to be a huge pain in the ass.
Listen, you wanted more reasons to log in every day? You got it.
I got it. Now not only do I have to do my dailies to get those minions and mounts,
so
but now
I've
got to send my retainer out to do their dailies to go and get these damn things.
That interests me that 18 hours gets used as often as, like, after patch 2.0, it's starting to get used 18 hours, other than the daily quests, which are legitimately daily every 24 hours. But some tasks having this 18-hour timer is kind of weird, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah, because we're going to talk about the whole reset of these timers, because things are getting a little goofy now. Going forward after 2.2 as far as what resets and when. We'll cover that in a little bit here when we get more to Dungeons and Coil and things like that. So while we're on the subject of retainers, let's have a moment of silence.
You got to say it. I can't say it.
We speculated based on some translations of a Yoshi P interview a week ago that the retainers would be a cash shop item, something sold on the Mog station next to the Fantasia vials if they ever get put up there. Well, we were right. It is a money transaction here. However, it's not a one-time fee. You can purchase up to 2 retainers at a grand whopping total of $2 a head on your monthly fee. So your monthly subscription, which is $12.99 or $14.99. Let's bypass the whole legacy pricing for now. We'll just talk about normal pricing. Because legacy players, this is great for them. They're probably still pissed too. You can let us know. You're a legacy guy. But
no, because you know what? Most legacy players are going, it's only $9 a month anyway. So.
Right. It's even if you get both, you're still at a normal sub price for you guys. But for those of us that have normal pricing, we're either paying $12.99 or $14.99. If you want one retainer, add $2 to your monthly subscription fee. Now, hold on. Before you go, Mr. Happy, I got to tee off on this one just a second.
Before I go?
Before you go on this one, because I know we both share the same view here that this is kind of crap. Yeah. And I've seen comments on YouTube, on your videos, on our videos. I saw comments in chat beforehand that you're okay with the pricing, that it does. No. If you're okay with the pricing, you're wrong. You're wrong. And I've seen lots of comparisons to Final Fantasy XI and muling characters in Final Fantasy XI. That's wrong, too. That's wrong.
Very wrong.
Here's the deal. So in Final Fantasy XI, yes, you're right. If you paid an extra $1 on your monthly subscription, you could have another character, and most people would do that to create a mule retainer. However, that character could be leveled into a full-blown character if you wanted to. No problem. In Final Fantasy XIV, that is not the same. We're not paying for retainers the same way we paid then. We already pay for that fee. It's called 2 different submodels for 14. $12.99 if you want one character per server, $14.99 if you want multiple characters per server. The problem is, we can't mule them because we can't mail to each other. If you wanted to compare just those 2 items, I would buy it. That's pretty much the same. Pay an extra $1 in 11, pay an extra couple of bucks in 14, you get some extra characters. But now, because we can't mail to those alternate characters for paying a few extra dollars a month, now we're being asked to pay a few more dollars a month to have a retainer that we can shovel things onto. So it's not the same as 11, guys. And that's been like the #1 argument that's bugging me. If you don't mind paying the fee, fine. Who am I to tell you what to do with your money? But don't compare it to 11 because this is a second fee on top of the fee you're referencing, which those of us that have multiple characters automatically pay. And the sole reason for it, besides making money, which of course is an excellent byproduct, the sole reason for it is because they don't want us to mail to each other for the sake of guild sellers. For the sake of guild sellers.
You know what? We've been seeing this a lot more.
It's another case of what I hate, and I love this game. Another case of what I hate where the mass player base loses out on something very useful because the minuscule few would probably abuse it, like whispering while you're in a dungeon. All right, hold on. I got to put my soapbox away. You go ahead and talk.
Well, I was going to say, that's something we've been seeing a lot more, and not just Square Enix. And other development, MMO development, they're starting to look at markets that are considered illegal by the terms of service and optimize them themselves. I mean, this goes back to as long as when Diablo 3 first launched, the whole idea behind the real money auction house. And Blizzard themselves are becoming more and more guilty of this. Like, oh, well, people do it illegally anyway, so why don't we make a few bucks off of it? And it's always to prevent RMT from doing the things themselves. They're just optimizing the same market the RMT, like the character boost in World of Warcraft and cash shops generally. I know ESO has a lot of cash shop items, mostly appearance based, I think, though. It's just something that's gonna keep getting popular to shut them down, because not only does it, I mean, there's really no defending it, but if they see an opportunity to make money, they're a business. If people are gonna buy it, they're gonna sell it. And I think that Yoshi P actually made that point very clear. If there's a high demand for something on the MOG station, he'll put it up there. This doesn't end with retainers.
As much as I want this, I want extra retainers. Now, as of right now, we don't have any information on if there's a possibility to acquire them any other way. Even one. I've seen some people ask, well, can maybe you get one through a quest or something? Not yet. At least as far as the information we have, this is the only way you can get the extra retainers, and you can get up to 2. But for those of you that are paying $14.99 like myself, and 2 retainers would be awesome to have, particularly with all these ventures coming out, right? You could do 4 jobs at once. I'd get the minions a lot faster. Now, all of a sudden, my sub is $18.99. We're hitting the $20 a month to play this game, and I don't know. I can't get behind it. And somebody's yelling at me because I said that I was okay with World of Warcraft spending charging $10 extra for their latest expansion. Their expansions have been the same price for a decade now. I'm okay with a $10 price increase. Not the same. It's also a one-time fee. Not the same.
And also, another big thing is the reason why it's $2, because I know a lot of people are even just looking at $2 for 1 extra retainer. They're under the assumption that you can do it on every character, whether you have 8 characters or 40. They're under that assumption, and they're charging for the situation where maybe somebody gets both of them, and they, for some reason, make all 40 characters RMT. But they're assuming that it'll take up the server space, and the reason why it's a monthly charge is, again, because of server space. So a lot of old trends we're seeing come back. The whole server space thing, why it's charging this much, assuming that.
Yeah, and that's the main reason that Yoshi P put out there, was the server space that this is going to take. Well, okay, then just let us mail to each other. For crying out loud, I'm already blacklisting guild sellers left and right every day anyway. It can't really be that much worse because now they can mail to each other. Come on. And I agree with Chad, who's saying, hey, you know what this should have been? This should have been a really, really long quest line. Like what we anticipate the Zodiac weapon quest lines to be, where it's a really long extended quest line.
Listen, you wanted a Final Fantasy. We're gonna talk about Final Fantasy XI a lot. We get the Zodiac weapons because I already see where this is going.
Here's the thing that I hate, though, and again, I love this freaking game. I really do. Like, I haven't not played it for longer than 2 days at a time, and that's usually because I had something in real life to do. I love it. I am so sick of hearing about RMT and server space.
I knew those were both coming.
Because
those are both reasons here.
I'm so sick of it. Why can't you do this? Well, the server stress on the... Oh, shit. Here we go again. Here we go. Well, how about personal housing? Well, we're monitoring the server stress of the free company housing. I play a ton of freaking games, and a lot of them are MMOs, and I've never heard a company cry about servers and server space.
I have a feeling a lot of that comes from... I have a feeling the server space problem comes a little bit from the higher ups in Square Enix. I mean, at least initially at launch, they definitely didn't say, like, listen, your game failed the first time. We're giving you this. Work with it. And I feel like little by little, they're starting to get more server space just from Square Enix in terms of funding and their investors from funding. So server space, at least for the time being, I'm assuming that this will continue to be a problem patch by patch until 3.0, in all honesty. If they're going to look at their sub numbers and the state of their game and finally go, hey, can we get some real servers, please? Or some better engineers or something? Can you pay for this finally? Because it's just costing you more to keep buying more as opposed to just doing it all at once. I don't know. But the RMT thing, Square Enix hates them. So
on that note, I want to close this part because I bitched a lot about that. I QQ'd all over the place here, and I admit it. I'm sorry. I cried MMO tears here. I'm going to be voting with my wallet. As much as I want retainers, I'm not buying them. I'm sorry.
There you go. That's the best thing to do.
I'm not buying them.
If you don't agree with it, don't spend the money on it.
I got to vote with my wallet on this
You
one.
can say you hate it as much as you want, but as soon as you buy into it, what did you hating it in the first place have anything to do with it?
Exactly. So I'm going to vote with my wallet, and I'm not buying in on this one. And I'm sick of the whole server thing. Please, then fix the servers. Clearly there's something wrong because there's other MMOs that are significantly older and running on older technology that aren't having the same issues we're running into here. On those two bad notes, I want to stop right there with the bads because this was a really good live letter. Besides this was the only thing I hated about it.
And it was right at the beginning.
Yeah, and they got it out of the way quick because they knew it wasn't going to be great news. And then the patch notes were even better and had stuff in it that we didn't talk about in the live letter. So we got a lot of good stuff to go through. So let's case up the bad. We're done with it. The retainer thing sucks. Fix the server thing and do something else about RMT rather than taking my ability to play the game away or play the game in a different fashion that we're most used to from other games. Moving on. And I QQ'd all over the place.
They give you 3 weeks until you buy.
Oh, screw it. No, I refuse to buy a retainer.
Yeah, me too.
I absolutely 100%. And you have a legacy sub, and you refuse.
Yeah, I'm $10 a month. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would be paying like the normal sub, but I can't even fill the 2 retainers I have on one character. I don't need 2 more.
So next up, gardening, and there wasn't too much on this one besides we did get to see it. And the different plots of land with the biggest one looked like it had, 8 sockets in it to plant some seeds in.
And a scarecrow.
Yeah, so 3 different sizes. That's cool. Limited, the number you can put down is more than 1. It's just limited by the land, the size of the plot of land that your free company bought. Now, I'm going to let you talk about this one because not having free company house yet, Game Breaker Nation, we're still saving up for the big ones. We don't want to buy the smaller or the medium ones. What are you thinking of gardening here? Tell us about it.
I think they actually did they did a better job with it than I thought they were going to do. It's 3 different garden sizes. First of all, they all look good. I actually think the smallest one is the most visually appeasing, although in terms of effectiveness per space. One of the biggest problems with housing right now on the inside is not having enough space. On the outside, on the other hand, most of the time you're just throwing stuff out there because you can. Getting rid of some of that for gardening, not really that big of a deal with the large house. The smaller houses are probably going to have to make a few decisions about what's more important about gardening and participating in the content and having more gardens, or the actual look of the house. And I'm assuming when personal housing comes out, because we seem to be getting closer to that now, that there are people going to just make people are going to make entire characters with personal houses just for gardening.
And they do seem to be talking more and more about personal housing as if it was just coming, not we're still working on it. And it was even referenced in this one where they were talking about I forget what the aspect
server upgrades for 2.2 in preparation for personal
housing. And then they referenced free company housing and something that they were investigating as far as the memory it took up for personal housing. It was referenced quite a few times. Finally, it was nice to see it as a this is coming rather than a we're still deciding whether we or not we want to do this. It looks like more and more we are going to get personal housing. We were right though on the free company control front though. The free company leader is going to decide who can plant seeds and who can harvest them, but everybody in the free company can help take care of them.
Yeah, and they actually made it a little bit more interesting. I thought it would literally be just plant seeds, water them once a day, and leave. But there's actually this sort of complex inner workings where you need to plant certain things next to each other in order for them to crossbreed and create rare types of seeds. And there will be unique only gardening items, items that only come from gardening, which I think that it needed also. I'm wondering where and how they'll be used. I hope it's not just more minions being pulled out of the ground like a tree ant minion, not a sapling, a tree ant. The big guys.
Please do not put a minion in freaking gardening. Please don't.
A carrot. Come on, you don't want a walking carrot?
Please don't. No, don't do it. Don't do it. I have so much to do.
You get it sooner or later. But I kind of like that.
That's what's gonna happen if they put one in gardening. It's gonna be like, all right, Game Breaker Nation, we need to buy a small house right now because I gotta get on to gardening.
But they put a lot more work. They put a lot more work into it than I thought they did.
Yeah.
I literally thought it was just going to be another avenue to get the same old items.
Well, and what was cool though was for us Final Fantasy XI guys too. Yoshi P was like, "Hey, this is not going to be nearly as hard to keep them alive.
Just 3 weeks to get a single ore. You have to log in every 4 hours.
This isn't going to be nearly as hard to keep the damn things alive as it was in Final Fantasy XI. They're not going to wither that fast. So,
but they will wither.
Yo, they will wither, just not as fast. So, yeah, pretty interesting. It'll be, please don't put a fucking minion back.
Every time he says unique only items after treasure hunts came out,
minion.
I just assume minion.
On to what was one of the really big questions going into this, and we knew, well, we at least assumed that this was going to drop on this one, because Yoshi P on the previous live letter wanted to save this for this live letter. You called it on this show. Weapon eye levels will cap at 115 in 2.2. The weapon, and then the armors will cap at 110. So that leaves the 95 and the 100 slot for presumably Crystal Tower in 2.3. That mid-tier. And there's actually going to be incremental gear available in this patch, 2.2, from 90, 100, 110, and 115.
He says it, and he said it'll be a step-by-step thing, which means he expects
a
people
progression.
to go from full I-90 to full 100 to full I-10. He doesn't just expect the 90 to 110 thing. Which,
yeah, but interestingly, he also said, Yoshi P also said that I-90 would probably be enough to carry you through Leviathan Extreme and King Mogomog Extreme, too.
Well, I mean, look at the item level requirements. I mean,
yeah.
If Ifrit Extreme was 70, and I'd say a good place to be for that is 80. I'd say a good place. Doing Ifrit Extreme at 70 was a horrible, horrible idea. Don't do it. It's one of the most drastically under item, like, there's a lot of item levels where you're like, wow, that one in particular is just stupid. So it's the same deal. He's item level 70 requirement, drops item level 90 stuff. Leviathan Extreme and Mogomog are item level 80, drop item level 100.
And Yoshi P said the weapons from Leviathan and King Mogomog, you are going to want them for, I shouldn't say.
No.
And then he stopped right there. He stopped right there. I mean, it's got to be Coil, right? I mean, that's got to be the reference.
There's this one other thing it could be. And when I first saw it, I don't know if you were in Reinhardt's chat because it was really early in the morning. But when I first saw it, I almost went, and this is until he got to the Gilgamesh section and like confirmed that I just was completely out of my mind. I thought maybe you could hand these weapons over to Gilgamesh because, as you know, he challenges people for weapons,
right?
But the way they spoke about Gilgamesh, it didn't seem that way.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about him in a minute when we get down there. I was kind of disappointed with this one, actually. Just a tad disappointed. Not nearly as much as the Retainers.
I think they're keeping us on the strings for that, but we'll get to it.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily buying exactly what was said about the Gilgamesh fight. Anyway, so on the topic of weapons, of course, relics got talked about here, and what are we going to do to upgrade them? He'd mentioned we're going to upgrade them, so it's going to be a big-ass long quest line to upgrade your relic into a Zodiac weapon. Saga of the Zodiac Weapon is the name of the quest line. During that quest line, the visual appearance of your relic weapon is going to change. That was a big question on everybody's mind, was if the relic weapon was going to look the same. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. And Yoshi P talked about many times how long this quest chain was going to be. Now, you're not exactly thrilled with this.
Well, it's not that I'm not thrilled with it, but for the most part, I was excited because it's something to constantly work towards. And it's another gear avenue, which I'm always open for. But another big question that a lot of people had was, can everybody in your party work on it at the same time, or are you going to have to say this one person is going to work towards it? And that is what it looks like it's going to be. One person is going to get these upgrades at a time, because some of the parts of the quest require super rare drops from content in the game. Now, we don't know if that's on an individual person basis yet, or if it's just a rare drop and you have to assign it to somebody. We don't know that.
Right.
But with the way we can assume, I'm assuming it's going to work like the way the housing item works in like turn 5 and Titan Extreme, where it'll drop to a person, and then that person either keeps it or you go, okay, well, we'll give that to this person so they can work on the Zodiac upgrade.
This aggravating formula sounds familiar.
Sounds like Final Fantasy XI. Let's see. Here's what we are going to do. I am going to take all of your money for 7 months, and then we're going to have to go kill 2 bosses just for me, not for you.
Yep.
And thank you, guys. I have my relic now. Peace.
Crafters and gatherers are getting new tools. He wouldn't talk about eye level there. I mean, the question was about eye level, but he just said they're going to get new tools and to go along with.
I thought it was weird. New headpieces and new tools.
Yeah.
What about the rest of me?
Right. The rest of you, that's fine, just the way it is. On this whole item level talk, so Philo's going away. It's disappearing. Myth is going to be the non-capped per week tombstone, and then Soldiery.
I almost have 2,000 of it already.
Soldiery will be the capped one. So that left a lot of people asking what's going to happen with Myth and stuff. Well, we knew some of the answer, or Philo items and things like that. We knew some of those answers this week, just after the live letter, but today there was also a post on the Lodestone, the official forums, describing that. They didn't give us the conversion rates or anything yet, but all of those Philo materials are now going to be things that you can buy with seals off of your free company and acquired through dungeon drops and things like that. The oil that you use for the current relic quest, the Philo oil, 900 Philo oil, will now be purchased with Myth. So that will stay there, but you'll purchase it with Myth instead. So now
one question I've gotten since the live letter.
So that means now your relic, and if you do relic +1, you're going to spend 1,800 Myth over the point of the entire quest before you get into the Saga of the Zodiac quest. So that's some of the changes that are coming as far as what's going on with the tombstones. We still don't know the conversion rate of on Thursday. What are you going to get Myth-wise for Philo? I'm assuming it's not going to be 1-to-1. I mean, that would just be... I mean, it'd be nice, but I don't think it's going to be.
There's arguments in both ways. Some argue that because mythology will be as common as mythology is now, there's no reason not to do one for one.
True. I mean, all the drops from dungeons and things like that are going up as well.
Yeah. But on the other hand, that means I have 8,000 mythology points waiting for me. I'm almost capped on 2 characters. I'm like 50 points away from capped on 2 characters, and then I almost have 2,000 philosophy on both those characters. So. That's flooding the market.
There were some other small things that were in the live letter. The Mog Station, besides the retainer stuff for cash that we talked about, which isn't really a Mog Station thing, it's a sub thing. The Mog Station looks like it will be getting the Vials of Fantasia, and they're almost ready for it. It's just not finalized yet. So if you really, really want to change your character and you use those already, it looks like you will be able to get those. Something the fans have been screaming for a while. Add-ons. You know, we expected add-ons to be about a month ago. 6 months from release, 6 to 8 months from release. Yep. And Yoshi P apologized for being maybe a little late on this. They're pretty much done. The interface and the ability to make your add-ons is just about done, but they're going to hold until after the PlayStation 4 launch is complete and stable, which I think kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and besides... It's the first time we've pretty much heard about it.
Yeah,
since they said,
at least it was mentioned
it.
again. At least it was mentioned again.
And he even said, "We know we told you 6 months. Just wait a little bit longer." Please.
Yeah, he was apologetic for it. Yeah, look forward to it. In the housing stress testing, we talked about it earlier. Stress testing is still being monitored on free company housing because of personal housing. Specifically mentioned personal housing again. The same testing is why the limit is not being raised for furnishings. However, it is for small houses. In the live letter, it was, it's not being raised, was the official Bayonne translation. But in the patch notes, it does say that the small house is going from 50 to 100 furnishings.
Honestly, I don't even think they need to, because if you've ever been in somebody's small house, they just took everything and crammed it in there. Right. Like, well, 50 items, better make use of this space I got right here.
If you're waiting for more Grand Company advancement, we still gotta wait. It's not coming in 2.2. It wasn't ready. But
if something as simple as that,
they said 2-3 at the earliest. So I don't even know if 2-3 is going to be when we're going to advance.
That almost tells me they're actually putting a little bit, because if they were just going to give you a new rank 1 quest to do, like, what would be the difficulty in adding that? I think what they're trying to, I think they see that nobody really uses rank 3 other than to, in the case, buy like philomats or buy recent items. I think that tells me they want to do a little bit more with ranks 4, 5, and 6. If something as simple as the way it's implemented now hasn't been implemented by now, then I feel like they're going to do a little bit more with it.
Yeah, and that's something I've brought up on the show before, that I want grand companies to be more meaningful of a selection. We know at launch it was a mild gear selection, if you wanted to treat it that way, even though that gear selection was totally negated within a couple of days after hitting 50 and running a few dungeons.
That long?
Yeah, and grabbing some dark light. But I do want the grand company stuff to be a little more meaningful besides just Frontlines is going to be down the road at some point. We don't know. I hope that they're putting some more into this, like story-wise, and more consequences between picking the 3. I like the, I don't know, or maybe I'm alone on this, and chat, you could chime in here and let me know. I like the idea of there being a consequence for that. I mean, there's certainly, I understand that, okay, well, we want to keep it fair so that everybody has an opportunity to get all this stuff. Okay, well, I like there being a consequence to some of these decisions, something like the Grand Company selection. If I'm going to be a mage, then I should probably pick this Grand Company because of X, Y, or Z. Or not even making it job or class specific, but to me right now the Grand Company selection has no meaning. And I think that's kind of sad for something that could be used in a really big way.
One word. Frontlines.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say it. And then okay. We'll see.
And then I know. It's like you said, not affecting
We'll
you.
see. Yeah. We'll see. Because PvP in the game right now is going so grand. Crystal Tower, they did mention the group of queuing up for 24. It's not going to be in 2.2, but that one is expected. It's not at the earliest. It is expected to be in 2.3. We'll talk more about the Crystal Tower when we get to the patch notes, though, because this was really the only Crystal Tower nod during the live letter.
Yeah, and besides, do we need it in 2.2?
Right.
Realistically.
PvP, they're going to add a couple options to kind of close the gear gap right now that is really apparent in PvP. But it's actually getting looks like its own patch in 2.25 is going to have a lot of PvP stuff in it. So what those will be, I don't know. Any guesses?
10 new ranks was one thing. The maximum rank is going up to rank 40.
Oh, wow.
Which means there's probably some new gear involved as well.
Your yellow feathered friend is getting a tweak in 2.2. It's not the tweak everybody wants, to be able to queue in the duty finder while having your chocobo out there. Yoshi's P and team are having a little bit of a challenge with that one, apparently, getting it to work. However, you are going to be able to mount and dismount your chocobo while you have it out as a companion. Yes! Yes!
Too bad the only place I go is Earth's Gift, where I don't need to mount him.
So you will be able to do that in 2.2. Nice. So kudos. Lots of small things here that are just like, oh, thank God. About time. Awesome. And then we get to a big one. The Echo buff.
The Echo.
And honestly, I didn't see this coming. So we knew Echo was going to be used in... Previously, they talked about using it in Coil and using it in the hard mode primals, which you made the good point on a previous show that hard mode primals totally made sense because they were a prerequisite to the Relic, which was a prerequisite to Coil, which had the Echo buff. So and I bought into that. Totally cool here. They're going to put it on the extremes, too.
Do you know why?
And well, let's work our way through it here, because there's a couple different ways this buff works, right? So for the hard modes, Garuda, Ifrit, Titan, Thorn March, Chimera, and Hydra, the Echo buff is applied at 10% intervals until it hits 50%, and that's a boost to your damage output, your healing, your HP, and all that jazz. But only if your party wipes after 3 minutes of battle. So you do actually have to go in and try.
Yeah.
or stand there and
Or
have to heal or
survive
heal for
for
3 minutes.
180
You have to
seconds.
survive for 3 minutes before the buff will go into effect. And that's on the hard modes, Chimera, Hydra, and Thornmarch.
Yeah.
For Ultima and the extreme modes for Garuda, Ifrit, and Titan, the Echo buff, same 3-minute rule, but it will be applied in 5 percentage point increments up to 25%. Tell me why. Because I was honestly surprised that the extreme modes were included.
They are Ifrit Extreme is a requirement for Leviathan Extreme and Mog Extreme.
So?
That is why. Because yeah, I guess it's extreme, who cares? But they just want people to get. First of all, it's still not going to save people from Titan anyway. So.
It's funny, in Game Breaker Nation, we were talking about this, and there's one member that was speculating, you know what they got to do next? They got to put bumpers up. That's if they're gonna put the Echo buff, then they gotta put bumpers up all the way around.
I saw that in Reinhardt's chat. I saw that in Reinhardt's chat when it was being translated.
I don't know. I'm kind of disappointed to actually see it on the extremes myself. I don't know. I mean, I buy into them, your explanation of them wanting to open up the content of 2.2 to everybody, but again, I don't like the idea of not having to earn anything just so everybody can play. Maybe I'm old school like that. I don't know.
You are old school. I mean, don't get me wrong. I agree on some level, but I'm not gonna tell people, no, I did it the way it was originally done. You don't deserve to have this. I'm not gonna do that. Let them enjoy it.
So Binding Coil works a bit differently. And there's a couple stages, and these are turns 1 through 5 that we're talking about, not the new Binding Coil, 1 through 5. So after 2.2 releases, you'll be able to queue through the Duty Finder, but only in a full group of 8. The weekly entry restriction, we knew that was getting taken away. It's gone. The ADS high voltage attack, which comes with the Paralyze, that's going to be alleviated a little bit, and you'll be able to cleanse the paralysis effect.
Yeah, apparently the Paralyze only has a percentage of chance of paralyzing sticking. You now.
Yep.
Yeah, so.
And then, of course, there's going to be an eye level restriction slapped to it.
Which, by the way, is the most accurate item level restriction they've put on anything in the game, I think. 70 for turn 1, 73 for turn 2. I don't even know why they put one on turn 3.
Right.
77 for turn 4 and 82 for turn 5. That's the most accurate minimum item level I've ever seen them implement.
Now, 2 weeks after the release, you'll be able to queue through the Duty Finder solo, so you don't have to do the groups anymore. And then turn 4 will have the Clockwork Knights damage taken down a bit, so melee can get in there and smack them around a little bit.
Yeah.
And then
every 2 weeks?
Yeah, every 2 weeks, then the Echo buff will start applying. It'll start at 10%, and it'll climb 5% every week, it's 10, 15, 20, and then 30, isn't it? It's over an 8-week period. So
and then
2
beyond
weeks,
8 weeks, they're like, we'll
look at it. We'll look at it. We knew it was coming. If you want to shut it off, shut it off. Who cares?
Yeah.
Tanks are getting some love.
We knew it.
We knew it. We talked about this weeks and weeks ago, how they were probably going to have to do something. Well, tanks, both warriors and paladins, are getting mounts of their own, class-specific mounts. One's a bear and one's a lion. To me, the models really didn't. They didn't do much for me, but
it was weird because the way it almost sounded, even though they specifically won, he went on to warrior and he was on the bear and then went on to paladin and then was on the. By the way, the lion is literally Chimera dipped in white paint with 2 of his heads cut off.
Yeah, it's the same model. Yeah, it's the exact same model.
He just has 2 of his heads cut off, and he was just dipped in white paint. He's got not an ounce of any other color on him. It just looks like he's just no palette whatsoever. They almost made it seem like they wanted at least one of these mounts, or maybe even both of them, to come from actively tanking, not just, hey, you leveled it, congratulations.
Yeah, it's not the way, you're right, the way they described it, it's not going to be get it to level 30, unlock the job, go get your mount. There's going to be a piece that you have to do to get these mounts. Also, tanks are going to get a bonus through the Duty Finder. On top of the bonus they already get, it's going to be a 7 times bonus. And I sent you a message this week.
Yeah, I know.
Because I watched your breakdown and you were like, oh man, look, I just hit 43 levels in one thing. It's not 7 times the entire Duty Roulette bonus. It's that roll bonus that if you're not 50 is usually like 2,500 to 5,000 XP.
That's still
If
lot
you,
of bonus
it's
XP.
still a nice little bonus, nice little chunk of 35.
You're still gonna out level
35,000
everybody
XP.
else and still say see you later,
Yep.
but.
So a little incentive, a little more incentive, if you will. Your boy Hildebrand, Gilgamesh, daily quests. We were right. The daily quests are going to introduce. They're not new zones, but they're new areas in existing zones.
Yeah.
Gilgamesh, of course, is going to use the battle or the Clash at the Big Bridge as the music. We talked about the official soundtrack. Mine's on the way. You got it too, right?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's I don't know where it is right now, but it's on the way.
Bonus track is Clash at the Big Bridge. You got to have the password to get into it and download it. Hildebrand's clothes, pose, and maybe I couldn't help but think of you when they saw this. His clothes, the pose, and possibly a minion might be added in the future.
Wind up Hildebrand,
but not yet.
Wind up Hildebrand. It's okay. That's all
And
I
then
needed
we get to
see.
the sentence
I turned the
that-
live letter off after this because I was like, "That's it. I don't need anything else."
We get to the sentence that I don't buy. I don't buy
yeah?
this one all the way. That Gilgamesh, Yoshi P said this was more for fun and they wanted everybody to be able to do it. And so if you took a party in of people you knew and you were working together before on a voice chat or whatever, a solid group, you'd probably beat it the first time. Not even having seen it, you would probably beat it the first time. That can't be right, can it?
It could be.
I hope not.
I mean, but the thing is,
this doesn't have to be in extreme mode or anything, but
Yes, it does.
if you, I'm sure it will be. Right? This is
Eventually.
tailor made for the Wandering Minstrel. Tailor made.
Oh yeah. No, it's not even the tailor made for the Wandering Minstrel. It's tailor made for Gilgamesh because he's always hey, come rematch me and I'll be even better next time. That's his thing.
Well, they did allude to Gilgamesh could have more appearances in the future.
He better have more.
With quotes, air quotes.
And he better come with a chicken minion.
Don't expect your boy Hildebrand to get a voice anytime soon.
That's fine. I think if he had a voice, it would ruin it for everybody. I think that not knowing his voice adds to his character on some level.
And then there was an awful lot of lore stuff because the writing team was represented on this live letter, so there were some lore questions. The one I only want to talk about here. I mean, if you're a lore hound, go check the official lodestone. But the one I think we should mention because it's always speculated, Hydaelyn, Ivalice, and Vana'diel are three totally different places. They're not one and the same. There's no duplications or anything like that. But they could connect here and there, which we've seen with Shantoto and stuff like that.
Some of the mammal jaw.
Yeah, so
yeah.
they could be connected. They'll be revealing more in the future, but they are three separate and distinct places. Anything else in the lore section that got tickled your fancy there?
The expansion.
Oh,
the 1,000-Year War, which is probably between Ishgard and the dragons.
Yeah, it's an easy tease, but there was no info there.
Yeah, that's info. We were only speculating it would be Ishgard because of the things they told us before. Now he's
the things they told us before launch, before the game even came out.
But now we got another hint that it might be Ishgard.
It's gonna be Ishgard. There's
I
no
didn't know
maybe.
that war was. I didn't know
no
that war was going on for 1,000 years. There could be another war that's been going on for 1,000 years.
Oh. All right, so that pretty much concluded the live letter. We're going to dig into the patch notes here, and we're going to skip around because obviously I don't want to cover something we've already talked about in too much detail. But before we do, got to talk about our sponsor a little bit. This week, it's actually us. Take a look at gamebreaker.tv/deals, DEALS. And there are a ton of different deals on different games. This is the kind of sponsorship that I really like because, everybody knows, if they have a sponsor, then that sponsor is paying them to be there and they're making a little bit of money, but then can you trust what? Yeah, it's a sponsorship thing. No. That's the way it works. That's how you keep the things running. But this is the type of sponsorship that I really, really like because it's a win for both Gamebreaker and for me as a gamer and for you guys. Check out the page, gamebreaker.tv/deals. There's a ton of games on there that you can get all kinds of discounts on for purchasing through these vendors that we list here. And we break it down right now. Here's the Elder Scrolls Online pre-order, now at 20% off. This one is going to end soon, obviously, since the game launches in 5 days. The early access goes live. But it just got updated a few days ago. All the codes were made region-free, which makes life a lot easier. But plenty of discounts here and tons of different ways to get them. So if you don't have access to a certain vendor, you still want to take a look at the page, because we're listing multiple vendors for you to get these things from, who's got the best deals, so that you guys can shop around. The page itself, you can click on deals right on the homepage. It'll take you to it. We've got the WildStar one I mentioned at the top of the show. Elder Scrolls Online, get ready. That one's finishing up. Titanfall. NVIDIA Shield, here's Elder Scrolls Anthologies at 50% off. Just a great page. It's kind of a win-win. Yeah, we have to have an advertiser here and there so that we can keep everything running, but why not have an advertiser that gives our viewers discounts on things they're probably going to buy anyway? To me, that's a win-win. So check it out, gamebreaker.tv/deals. Deals.
Deals.
And now the patch notes. All right, so patch notes. Kind of surprising that they dropped them when they did, because they're not finished yet. These are the preliminary patch notes. You actually mentioned when we're getting an update pre-show. These are getting changed, right?
These should, it should be, because patch starts in, what time is it? 8 o'clock now? So it starts in, what, 8 hours?
Yep.
From now? And they said in the live letter that they would be dropping on the 26th after the servers came down. So sometime tomorrow, I'm expecting by the time those of us in the United States, and maybe by Europe, maybe by the time they wake up, depending on how late of a sleeper you are, that they might be available by tomorrow morning.
Now, the main storyline is obviously getting an extension. 19 quests. Pretty lengthy little chain to extend things out. Of course, capping it off with Through the Maelstrom. And then two quests are being added to the new Chronicles of the New Era.
Those are the extreme modes.
Those are the extreme modes. See, the King Lives in Whirl of a Time. And then the second Coil of Binding, Coil of Bahamut. We get teased 2 quests, but we only get the name for one.
They did that for the original 2.0 also, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and then on top of that, of course, you have your boy Hildebrand and everything. So it looks like, and then a slew of side quests. If you're still leveling other jobs, there's about 24 extra side quests now added, ranging from level 9 all the way through 50. So it's getting easier and easier and easier to level those alternate classes. If you already have 50.
I will say this: a lot of these are for features. They're prerequisites for features. Submission Impossible, I believe, is for glamours. Just tooling around is for your new tools for your crafters and your gatherers. Ill-Conceived Venture is obviously to open up ventures for your retainer. Rising to the Challenge is for a new feature that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, Beast of Brewers is the fishing one.
Yeah, so a lot of these are prerequisites, but hey, if they're before level 50, use them.
And of course, to open up the dailies as well. That's going to be one, and then to open up the hard mode Halatali and the hard mode Brayflox Longstop, and then open up Lost City of Amdapor. So all in all, there's probably a good 40 or so different quests added here, and that's not counting the actual Beast Tribe dailies themselves or the scenario quests within those Beast Tribes too. So quite a few quests being added. You're not going to do these dailies either, are you?
No, I want both of these mounts. I didn't want the Gubu mount because I already had one, so I was like, I can leave that one go. But then they mentioned in the live letter, hey, if you do them all, if you do all 5, because they included the Ixali are going to be in 2.3, do them all, there'll be a bonus. I'll be like, damn it.
Beast Tribe rewards did get adjusted, of course, because of the whole Philo myth thing. So philosophy is no longer going to be received, and you'll get Philo instead. Blah 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 blah. And then you'll be able to get your venture chips as well from the dailies as well. So cool. Guild leaves. Okay. Some of the difficulty was increased, and not really much to say, huh?
I wonder what those new rewards are. Like, when did anyone care about the rewards other than experience? Who cared about the rewards in the first place? I wonder what it could possibly be.
The Guild Hess. This was an interesting one. The Guild Hess first time. This is really cool. The first time bonus that you get for completing a Guild Hest is now going to be awarded to classes individually. So I've burned through most of us have already burned through all of them, and we're no longer getting bonuses. But if you go back to classes that haven't done them before, the first time you do them, they will get a bonus. That's huge incentive to roll through all of these over and over and over.
Yeah, all 8 times. And for those of you wondering if you've done it already, if it'll matter, I mean, you're probably already 50 by now. But if you've already done them on a job prior to this being implemented, it's just all 8 of them are getting the options. So if the game, they have no way of tracking, hey, you've already done it before the patch with X class. They don't know that. So go ahead and use them.
Fates, obviously now it's time to start tweaking the fate difficulty in some certain areas because traffic in those areas has started to go down. So things like A Wrench in the Works, What a Bore, Quenching the Flames, Sharknado, my favorite one, Tale of a Whale, Watch Your Tongue, The Miner in the Mirror, and Making the Rounds, they have had their difficulty lowered. HP of enemies in some fates will increase as the number of participants increases. Pretty easy to see which two these were going in Behemoth and Odin.
No, actually, that's just Behemoth, the HP one.
Oh, yeah. No, he taketh it with his eyes.
Yeah, that's Steel Rain is Odin.
Oh, yeah. You're right. So Behemoth be getting a ton more hit points if there's a lot of you in the area. Sorry, my throat got a little dry there.
Oh, it's fine. It's coming, though. Steel Rain is coming, though.
Oh, yeah. We're going to skip over the dungeons. We belabored that point last week. You want to talk about Second Coil a little bit because your free company's looking forward to it. What's up here? What's the plan of attack?
Go in and whoop everything.
Is there like a world first going on for this one now too?
There's of course a world first going on for this one. I think people are going to generally prioritize. I think Leviathan Extreme is going to be beaten in less than 24 hours. Same with Bogomog Extreme, just because of sort of where the item level sits for those. They're probably going to be pretty difficult at flat item level 90, but I don't suspect they're going to take more than 24 hours to beat because we are 10 levels above the recommended item level, whereas most people are the projected bottom item level available for Binding Coil. I do suspect that whether it's my group or any other group, I think 6 and 7 will be beat by the end of the weekend, and I think by the end of April, all 6 through 9 will be beaten. Wow. Of course, that's based on absolutely nothing because we don't know how the stepping stone works with the whole 90 to 100. This is based on going directly from way it worked in. We went directly from 70 to 90, so it's based on that. If he expects people to be in as much I-10 as 100 as possible before doing this, then it could be a significant challenge just based on gear differentials if the minimum item level is expected to be more along the lines of 95 to 100 as opposed to just a flat 90.
On the other flip side of that, the other raid, Crystal Tower, is being tweaked so that you can need on as many items as you want per week now. I saw this one coming. You kind of thought I was silly back when I said it, but it made sense. That's
not even the biggest deal. What about the Go reward?
Oh, God. If you want to check out all the little tweaks, obviously we're giving you the high profile button tweaks, but if you want to check out the little tweaks like the additional gear and the tweaking of difficulty, Pharaoh Sirius is getting a number of changes. Difficulty is being adjusted to match Copperbell hard mode and Hawk Manor hard mode. So if you want to read the tweaks like that, check out the full patch notes. Leviathan, King Moggle, there's all kinds of little details on the prerequisites and things there. One of the pictures you saw in the Lodestone patch notes was the 4 different colored horses.
Yes. One from Ifrit Extreme, one from Leviathan Extreme, one from Titan Extreme, and one from Garuda Extreme. Horsey. Where's my Moggle one?
Are you going after them? Are you going after them?
I got my Nightmare mount completed by accident.
I got mine in a pug.
I got mine. I was like, I don't care, and then it dropped, and I rolled a 97 on it, like the 10th one I killed. And then, meanwhile, it was everybody else's 100th.
Grand companies are getting a little bit of a change, but it has nothing to do with questing or anything like that. But a lot of the items are being bumped down in rank. Reinhardt calls it the My Little Pony collection.
I want it. Want them all.
But a lot of the items are being bumped down in rank for you to buy. To me, this is kind of just got to be to make room for the philosophy items and push them to the top rank, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm not crazy. Next up, we had the housing and gardening section, which showed all the different menus, all the different buttons, and the gardens, the circle ones with 4, and the basements are being added. Oh yeah, small houses, basement levels being added. So it's almost time to start building airships for some unknown reason. We don't know what we're gonna do with the airships once we build them, but we're gonna be getting them soon. And then we got to a really weird piece of the patch notes. And you did a whole separate video on this one. Because it was not even mentioned in anything up until now, until the patch notes.
Before we go on.
Go ahead, you take it.
No, before we even go on about challenge logs. Those player shops were just shops.
Yeah.
Like regular NPC shops. Because, I saw you miss that, and I was like, we talked about this a lot. There's no way I'm letting him skip on. And you can literally put a mender, a material supplier, and a junk monger.
Absolutely freaking useless. Absolutely useless.
Well, no, the reason why they're also putting the summoner retainer bell is they want more people to populate those areas. They want people to be like, oh, I'm not doing anything, so I'm going to hang out in the housing area, and people, they want it to be bustling, so they figure the more features they put there,
useless.
Maybe. Yeah.
Useless. But then we hit challenges. Tell us about it.
Challenge logs. Now, there's a few different MMOs you can reference to compare challenge logs to. The easiest one, the one that a lot of people is Records of Eminence from Final Fantasy XI. It's more like, I don't know what it was called, because I didn't play Guild Wars 2 when this was implemented, but it's basically a set of challenges that will reset weekly, and they give you bonuses like experience points and guild. And it's got a ton of things. Dungeons Guild has PvP fates, Leave Quests, Disciples of Hand, Land, Treasure Hunts, Beast Tribe Quests, Grand Companies, Companions. I'm sure you'll, Chocobos, because we need stuff to do with them. Player commendations, and then overall completion, and these will reset every week at Tuesday at 4 a.m. Eastern Time. And you can just use them as another avenue for leveling up, if you're doing some guild hests.
The experience actually looks pretty impressive. I'm assuming that it's going to scale in some regards here. But the tags they had there were like 83,000, although does it really have to scale? Yeah, I mean, you get these at what, level 15? I think was the quest that you could start these at. So if you're getting like 83,000, but you can only get it once per week, I don't even really think it has to scale at that point.
No, I don't think it does.
It might give you a level or two.
But... And also, the one that they showed us was fates in different regions.
Yeah,
so you're
do 5 fates in different regions.
You're going to start teleporting around just to get those fates done. Doesn't have a minimum level or anything, but...
Nope,
I like
do 5. I like it too. It's more stuff. Again, they're making it easier and easier to go back and encourage you to level those alternate classes now. So prior to 2.1, it was if you didn't want to fate grind, then you didn't level an alternate class. In 2.1, it became, okay, now you can fate grind, or you can run dungeons or duty roulettes to start leveling those other classes. And now here we are in 2.2, yet another feature and some supplemental stuff on other things, really encouraging you to level a class. Now, you mentioned lockouts. This gets weird now, because lockouts are now being segregated into 2 different sections. What and when and what the hell is going on here?
3 different types basically now. You have 18-hour lockouts that are on treasure hunts and your retainer ventures on just the one type of retainer venture. You have the daily lockouts, which are the same as they've ever been every midnight in Japan. Those will reset. And then you have the weekly lockout itself, which it applies to like your weekly extreme mode quest or the new binding coil of Bahamut, and as well as these challenge logs, and that's now Tuesday at 4 a.m. And the reason they're doing this, they say, is to alleviate server stress. Again, funny, Mr. Bray.
Here we go, more server stress.
I guess the idea behind it is that when it resets, it's Japanese prime time. By the time that the people across the world start waking up, it's no longer Japanese prime time. It's now maybe European prime time or North. They're trying to break up the prime time so people don't immediately log on all at the same time. But to me, that doesn't even make sense, because it was what, it was midnight in Japan. I don't think that was a prime time in Japan.
Yeah, the time doesn't make it sense,
with.
and I don't like the segregation here, the separation. Segregation is a bad word. Separation is a better word.
You know why I don't like it?
Yeah, I know why you don't like it. Unfortunately, it interferes with the show. But I don't know. I would have just, and we had a viewer question last week, and we both said no. You know, a viewer question said, "Do you think they'll change the lockout times?" And both of us said no. Well,
to Tuesday,
so the answer was yes and no. They didn't change one lockout time, but they created a new one for something else. I almost would have rather they just moved it. I don't like things. Okay, wait. What? When does that reset? That's Tuesday, and that one's Thursday. Yeah. Just put it all on the same day.
Dynamis,
Right.
Limbus,
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Before we wrap it up today, there was more in the patch notes, obviously, about Glamour and the PvP gear changes that we referenced as far as closing the gear gap with PvP. Check out the patch notes on the Lodestone. Before we wrap it up today, let's go to your viewer questions. First up, Jermarcus Allen sends a question via Facebook, says, being an add-on developer in World of Warcraft and a programmer in general, how limited do you think Yoshi P and crew will make the add-ons in Final Fantasy XIV? Do you think they'll be Flash-based scripting or Lua? The base UI is Lua, so I would guess Lua, Methylane also. Less important, but ETA on any real information on them. Well, we did get a little more information on the ETA, and that is after the PlayStation 4 launches and is settled down and stable. If I had to guess, actually, I think I remember a live letter way back when Yoshi P said Lua, so I would assume that they're going to be Lua-based. So that leaves, those are just two easy ones, so that leaves for you and me to talk about how open are they going to be. And my estimation would be not much, because anything that gives you as a PC player an advantage over a PS3 or a PS4 player is not going to be allowed.
Yeah, I expect that a lot of just changing the UI look will be available. And that's one of the most popular things people like to do. They like to find maybe numbers that pop out more or less. I know I prefer less specifically. Also, I just don't expect it to reach in, and I think they might even not let boss timers in, which kind of I hate boss timing add-ons. I hate it so much. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it so much.
What, you just feel it's cheating?
I just feel like it takes a piece of progression out. Well, it's weird. It just takes a piece of the content out for me. The idea of figuring something out, you know, oh, well, this happens this every so often, okay. It takes a piece of it out. For progression's sake, they never work when a fight first comes out anyway, so people who are trying the world first never get to use this thing, or they are the programmers themselves and they start working on it. But I don't like it. I even think DPS meters won't make it.
I agree with you.
Just for the same reason why they keep saying why, you know, they a lot the whole, you know, the minority will use it for this reason.
I totally agree with you. I don't think we're going to see anything like a deadly boss mods or anything like that. And DPS meters, Yoshi P has kind of just laughed at them. You know, it's okay, they're there, we know they're there, but I don't think he intends to open that up. Again, it doesn't provide an advantage to the PC player, but it does provide them with more information that could be used to harass somebody else's life, and therefore is not going to allow it, which really kind of leaves you with just being able to edit your UI.
I want a clock. I want the internal clock for dots and hots.
That would be nice.
Only add-on that I want.
I'm going to mispronounce this, but Ace Rihume, I apologize if I butchered that. What are you looking forward to most in the next patch, and what would you like to see in the game this year, Happy?
Patch specifically, I'm looking forward to the Zodiac quest. I want to see... Because the last time they gave us an estimation of how much of the community would complete something before a certain point in time, it was turn 5, and less than 100 people has definitely been surpassed before 2.1. And this time they're saying we expect most people won't have it done before 2.25. Challenge accepted.
I'm also looking forward to the Zodiac quest line, but I'm also looking forward to Leviathan. The fight just looks really cool from the videos we've seen. What would I like to see them do over the course of this year? Something put in this year. I'd like to see them start using the Guildhest system more, whether that's for events or for one-off fights or just something new. I'd like to, there's a cool system there with the Guildhests and the way you're able to queue up for them that I don't think every like in-game event has to be fate related. You have a cool system, utilize it, and it doesn't seem like, at least to me, that it would be that hard to add an item and then remove it from the Guildhest when the event's over. There you go. From our man, I know he left chat, but if you, I assume he'll watch the recording, from Reinhardt Valentine himself, Mr. Live Translation. Zodiac weapon, Zodiac subligar, yes? Well, of course they have to give Reinhardt a Zodiac subligar. That's a no-brainer. They have to.
Obviously. Yeah.
Do you think there will be a hidden surprise battle in 2.2 that is not listed in the patch notes yet?
You know, I think back to 2.0, they didn't tell anybody about Chimera and Hydra.
No.
They just said, they showed off Hydra at some point, and we all assumed it was part of the Relic quest, but they never straight out said, yeah, you're going to have to fight Chimera and then Hydra. So it's entirely possible, but I don't think in 2.2 that surprise battle is going to pop up. I think there is going to be a Zodiac-specific fight that people are going to have to do at some point. I think it's going to be in 2.25, though.
I'm going to go with, yes, there'll be a surprise battle of some type. Mr. Happy Michael Poveromo, follow him on the Twitters at Mr. Happy1227 and on the YouTubes and everywhere else. Very good, my friend. Well, I'll see you Thursday. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
You didn't send yourself out. Come on.
I'm not done yet.
Well, you made it sound like you made it sound like you're just kicking me out.
No, I'm gonna send myself out here. Michael Byrne, you can follow me on Twitter's at MagicMan1, MAGICKMANN1. Don't forget to follow twitch.tv/GBNation. That is the official streaming channel of the Gamebreaker Nation. If you're not in it, I don't know what's wrong with you. Go check out the website. They will be doing an Elder Scrolls Online launch show at 4 a.m. Eastern on Monday because ZeniMax decided to launch at 7, so check it out, follow /GB Nation. Until next week, gang, stay safe, and we'll see you on the server.